Hi, my name is Emma Zuercher. This is an interview about University Club for the Gainesville Business History Oral History Project, run by the Inquire Capitalism program of the History Department at the University of Florida. Understand that for us and for the public, the information you are providing is a gift, as it is an incredible historical resource and we dearly appreciate it. This interview will be as a part of the UF Oral History Collections and the UF Digital Collections and YouTube. Please introduce yourself. What is your full name, and can you please spell it?
My name is Mark Spangler, Markspangler.
Thank you. So tell me a little about yourself. Like, are you a Gainesville native? Where'd you go to school and stuff like that?
I'm from Ohio originally, but I moved to Florida when I was 20. So I'm more of a Floridian. Been here 42 years. And I did some college in Manatee Community College in Bradenton.
Awesome. So what was what did you do for work before UC?
Well, when I moved to Florida, I got a job in a boat factory building sailboats for Wellcraft in Sarasota. And I was working there 40 hours a week, bringing home $120.
Wow.
So then I got a job working 20 hours in a nightclub, working 20 hours, making $600 a week. So I let the boat job go.
Yeah. When did you move to Gainesville?
1990.
Okay. And so what was the climate regarding the LGBTQ community during that time when you moved to Gainesville?
Well, it was more hidden, kind of more closeted people. Because 2 years before we opened in 90, there was a bar around the corner from us and two guys got beat up with ball bats, and it was a more tense climate back then than today. It's more open. It's open now,
Yeah.
more open.
That makes
more
sense.
acceptable.
So kind of what you touched on, were there any gay bars or clubs that were considered safe spaces before UC, that you know of?
Well, there was the Melody Club on 6th Street. It had been there since 1970. They had two sides, a dance side, then a more of a leather bar side. And then there was a courtyard in between the two. And then there was a place out on East University, way out, called My Friend's Place. It was kind of an alternative, but it was very accepting too. That was open when we first opened.
Good. So what was kind of your inspiration? What made you want to start and open UC? And what was that process like?
Well, I ran several clubs for a guy in Sarasota, and he'd won a bunch of liquor licenses. Back in the day, you could anyone could enter a liquor license for different counties. If you won it, you had 3 years to use it. And if you kept it in play for 3 years, then you could sell it. And you could make $600,000, $50,000, depending on which county you're in. So he had won a license up here, and I was running clubs for him in Sarasota. And then he won one in West Palm, so I went there for a year. And I just got tired of working for somebody, and he wasn't a very nice man. So I was like, when I come up here, I was looking for another location for him, because he had a club before, a gay bar called Capers, where Lucy's right there, Brick City, Lucy's right there for years, but then it went under. And so he had the license still up here available, and he said, why don't you go scout the area up? And I'd never been to Gainesville, so I come up here and I looked all downtown, because back in the 90s, the whole downtown was like a ghost town, because, they weren't revamped yet. So there was lease everywhere was for lease. So I looked at all these locations, and I was eating dinner or lunch at Miliano's when it was still open. And I looked across the street and I saw where you see the building, and I said, oh, let's just go look at one more. And I looked in the windows and immediately fell in love with the place, and called the landlord, and I thought, well, I can do this on my own, because it was kind of a turnkey situation. It was already set up to go. So I called my dad. I said, Dad, can you come up here and look at this? So he came up with me from Bradenton, and then the landlord wanted $15,000 total, $5,000 deposit, and $10,000 first and last. And that's what I opened the club for, and it's been doing well ever since.
So was it just you, or were there other people who kind of helped open it with you?
Kenny, my actual bartender, is with me. I brought him from West Palm, and he's been with me the whole time. So that was pretty much it.
That's nice. And what was like the legal process of getting it opened, and what was the reaction of the community to the opening of UC?
Well, I had already helped open clubs in Sarasota and Bradenton, so I kind of knew you had to go to the sales tax, you had to do the health department. There was like zoning and just make sure everything, and of course get your license. And at the time when we first opened, there was a kitchen upstairs. So we kind of skated on a food license where you sell 51% food, 49 liquor. Well, after 3 months, they said, you're selling 1% food. You have to get a liquor license. But at least I had 3 months I had saved enough money in those 3 months.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be, there was a guy in the mall that closed it was called Chelsea Street Pub, and they had the license available, and everyone else in town was asking like 38, and that was a lot of money back in 90 for me to come up with it. So I called the guy from Chelsea Street. He was up in New Hampshire somewhere, and he said, I'll sell it to you for $20,000. And so we got our license, and we were good from then on. We didn't have to serve food.
Yeah. And so would you say the reaction like of the community with the open, like was it marketed first as like a gay bar, or was it just like a bar? What'd you say?
Well, we said gay, but everyone was welcome because we had to have everyone to keep it going back in the day, you know. So everybody started coming there. Like Thursday nights was considered straight night because all the sorority girls would come to see the drag show because no one would mess with them. And then about a year in, all the frat boys knew, hey, I can go there at close to closing, and there's 300 or 400 girls there. So we kind of evolved. That night was huge for like the sororities to come in and stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of the drag shows, do you want to, can you like explain how they got started and, you know, how they've helped with the business?
Well, originally we had Beer Bust on Monday, and I forget what we did, but Wednesday we would do male strippers, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday we would do drag shows. And it just started getting so big, we have drag shows almost every night now, different themed ones. So
yeah, I was doing a little research. I know read about the drag queen Pearl, and how she kind of helped start everything. Right.
Well, we did a few shows, and then in '91, this was back when everyone was doing AIDS benefits, and so on a Sunday night, we did a Pearl. She wanted to get into MCing for me because my MC went to Orlando. And I said, well, you do this benefit. And we did it on a Sunday. This was 91, and we raised like $8,000 on a Sunday.
Wow.
And the whole community was involved. Paige Beck, everybody was there. It was like a big to-do. And so that's where Lady Pearl got started. And she had these big pearl dress, like thousands of pearls on this dress. And so she was so funny MC, the best MC, about 6'4", but the girls used to come there just for her to pick on them because they were all skinny, and she was like 250 pounds, looked like a linebacker in drag. And she'd mess with all the skinny girls, and they loved it. So it kind of evolved from there. Yeah.
So what other events, I know you kind of touched on it, other than the drag shows, you have Mike nights, right?
Tom Miller's doing, they just did a thing in Alligator. He's retiring after 39 years doing the open mic. It's a different show. He said, if you come to see my show, you'll cancel. So I've never been there. But it's fun. So we do that on Monday. And then now Kelly, you probably heard of Kelly. She's going to do her UCDR, like the RuPaul Drag Race. We do the UCDR on Mondays, like in the spring.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So what was your competition as far as like other bars or other gay bars back then, and what is it now?
We really didn't have any competition. I mean, Melody Club was not downtown, so it was up like 39th and 6th Street, so it was kind of further out. And they got more locals and an older crowd. We got more of the college kids. We had a few bars open, and it always made you nervous, but now they do drag everywhere, and it just brings more people awareness to drag, and so I don't really worry about it anymore. You always worry when someone opens another club, it could mess you up, but people opened and we still survived and thrived.
Good. So you would definitely say the business has expanded since opening?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, COVID hit and we were a little nervous because we were closed for 6 months. And then once everyone started to come back out, it just revitalized everything. People wanted to be out again. And last year was our busiest year ever in 34 years.
Wow. So you definitely say like the pandemic negatively affected your business?
It did at first, but I think in the long run it helped because people missed being able to go out. We would do virtual drag shows like Kelly I'd let them 3 go into the club and they would do it live, and they'd make as much tips online as they would in person, but it helped them survive too.
Yeah, that's pretty innovative for that. So what were some challenges you faced in the course of, working with UC, and how did you overcome them?
Well, in, I think, 2008, when the market crashed and everything and people weren't spending as much money, that was the only time that we really were kind of struggling. And so we opened a gold store in Stark, and we bought in gold when everyone was selling gold and silver. So that was doing really well. So it kind of offset the club for a couple of years. So that was pretty much the only really challenging time. When we first opened in 90, of course, we opened April 26th, and we're getting ready for the first school would begin, and the student murders hit.
Oh,
and
yes.
We were like, wow. It was like a ghost town.
Oh, I'm sure.
So for like 2 weeks, then we were like panic. School just started. Now school's canceled.
Yeah. My mom was at school during that.
So, and I lived in an apartment complex near where all the murders were taking place. So it was just a freaky time for everybody. And a lot of places didn't survive after that.
Oh. So, but UC persisted, obviously. Yeah. How would you say that the climate towards LGBT community has changed since opening?
Well, when like the first year we opened, a few times like there would be some guys, frat boys, come out there and throw bottles out, so we had to shut the doors. But then, like I said, like a year or two in, we started incorporating, the sorority girls coming on Thursday nights. And so the frat boys started coming in too, or the students. And they're like, oh, it's just like any other place, and they had fun. So I think, and Pearl would help educate all the students, and they'd come back to campus and talk about it, how it was a safe space. And we always tell people, if you come here, we don't care what Pearl's saying was, I don't care what sexual orientation you are, just come here, and treat everyone right, and you're welcome. So she always, after her show, she had these sayings, and she would educate the crowd. So that kind of from there, it started each year, got better, and everything's more accepting now. I mean, gay people can go anywhere and pretty much be accepted. There's still some issues, but it's a lot different.
Yeah. So would you say the clientele, like demographic, has shifted since you opened? Like, are there more students or more locals, or?
It still stays about the same mix. And we do a piano bar upstairs on the 3rd floor now for happy hour 7 to 10 on Fridays. And it gets a little older crowd. And so, and we're doing Fest now. We've done this, will be our 2nd year on Fest. So we kind of do a lot of different things and then we do like a big party in July this year. It's called Bears on the River. And these guys, they rent out the whole hotel and they float down the Itchinatuckney. And then they have Candy's buses. They bring them to the club. I let them in free. So we'll be like slam packed at 9 o'clock to 11. And then they all trickle out. And then our regular crowd comes. So it's a nice money making night too.
Yeah. Do you feel that UC is kind of threatened at all by the current political state in Florida right now? Just, with all the anti-LGBTQ, policies and stuff.
Yeah, we were worried, but we don't, the laws that they passed were like the drag brunches where kids were allowed. So we were 18 and up. So that really didn't affect us, but it made us nervous that, if they start here, where is it going to end? Yeah. Because we had to fight for, in the early 90s, for people not to be fired for being gay and stuff. We all had a big campaign whenever the commissioners, and then they finally passed it.
Good.
So,
what are some ways that UC has kind of connected with the community, would you say?
We're always in touch with the Pride Community Center and any other groups that, Florida Council and Human Rights Campaign. They register people to vote at the club. So we stay pretty connected, and most of my MCs are pretty connected with the community, like Kelly and London and Chantel. We have different hosts, different nights, and they're all pretty much, Kelly does the social drag brunch and Vecinos, and then she works for me Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes Saturday.
So would you say like a lot of your workers have been like with you for a long time, or do they kind of come and go with like school and things?
Well, my main two bartenders started when I first opened. Ernie kind of retired when COVID hit because he was like 68, and but he had been with me for 30 years also. So my two main bartenders had been with me from the beginning. And then I had Rachel for years. It's usually like my bar backs and my fill-in bartenders were students. They'll come and go. Like my first manager was a lawyer now in St. Pete, and he was my manager from 90 to like 95.
What about your MCs, or would you say, what about the drag queens as well? Do they kind of come and go? Or?
Yeah, they we had Jay Jolie from RuPaul season 5. I sent her out there, and then now she's famous as Taylor Swift. And Fantasia Royale's out there in Vegas, Sonia Dela Cruz. A lot of people that had started at our club are in Vegas now, like 5 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And Roxy Brooks is famous out there now. She started her first show at our club like 5 years ago. Now she's a headliner at Senior Frogs and Treasure Island at their drag brunch. So we've got quite a few entertainers that are in Vegas now.
Good for them. Was when gay marriage was legalized in 2015, how would you say like the environment was at UC, and did that like affect anything or bring more business or?
Oh yeah, because even when I think it was a Thursday, it was passed and the bar was packed. People were all celebrating, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. What would you say your proudest achievement is regarding UC?
Just that I've always tried to make it a safe space for everybody and people. I've been to Hawaii, Alaska, Europe, and people all know UC, and they tell me, oh, I went to college there, or I always hear good stories of people, and they'll thank you for the space that we created for all these years. So I think that's probably the number one thing.
Yeah. Do you have any like plans for UC in the future, or is it kind of just going to continue as it is now?
Well, we just bought the building a year and a half ago after 33 years.
Wow.
And so we put a new bar in it, new windows, and we've been doing a lot of upgrading the bathrooms. It's a work in progress, but yeah, now that we own the building, we don't mind putting a little more money into it, giving back. So.
Good. Do you have any like pictures and things and like archival stuff that you save?
I brought a few pictures with me.
Do you want to show them?
But I can probably email you a few, like the front of the building. India just repainted the front of the building. And so I just grabbed a because most stuff's digital now. But these are like from when we first opened.
Wow.
It's different scenes and things.
Yeah.
So.
If you want, you can show them to the camera.
Okay.
And then kind of talk about each of them.
Then I got, this was our...
matches.
We had matches. We haven't smoked in there in like 10 years, but these were our original matches from 1990. We had colorful ones too, but I just brought out, these are old pictures, like, just, these are really old from like the 90s. And there's some of the crowd shots.
Wow.
That was the upstairs bar before we knocked the walls out and made a circular bar. It was like a 3-seat bar. It was so little. Yes, yeah, and this was Halloween downstairs with the old bar.
Oh,
yeah,
very retro.
I don't know if you've been there recently.
Yeah,
because that's the bar we just look at those old bar stools.
Looks pretty different.
Yeah, there's some of our entertainers. This is Lee Shannon. She's famous in Orlando as Bette Midler. She used to be MC at my club. That's me when I was young. And then we had my manager started this party. It's called the Slut Party, and it's an annual event. This will be our 35th year doing it. So now we have to do it 2 nights because the line's like 2 blocks long to get in. And everyone just has a good time. And
that's where you wear less clothes, right? And you get in. Yeah. Yes. Slut nights. Yeah.
And that was Kenny when we first opened upstairs. That was our opening night.
He still works with you, Kenny?
Yeah, Kenny still works upstairs. So, yeah. So, I tried to find some other things, but...
Oh, those are great.
Yeah. And we had T-shirts. All the bartenders wore the T-shirts. And they were all neon, like pink, orange, yellow, and green after we did the white ones.
Yeah. How, back then, did you market UC? How did you promote it and stuff?
Well, my manager at the time was like a graphic designer, so he'd make posters, and there was a couple magazines, like a local magazine. And once in a while we do the Alligator, but there was, I forget the name of the magazines, Insight, and then there was another one. And then there was some other publications from Orlando, and they would come in and take pictures, and you'd run ads in them. Everything was like magazine based. There was no cell phones, no internet.
Yeah. Did you kind of market as well to the university?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how does that compare to how you market today? I mean, obviously everything's digital, but
pretty much we do Facebook. We don't pay for ads anymore. It's Facebook, Instagram. I pay people to do my social media. They post every day on both. So pretty much we don't even have a website anymore. We used to have a really cool website. But I think most people do Snapchat, all the apps now.
Yeah. So you would say your UC is kind of developed with technology? I mean,
yes.
So you started in magazines and then went on the internet, had a website, and now it's kind of transitioned to just exclusively social media, would you say?
Yeah, and nobody even rarely even calls the club phone number anymore. We still have a landline in the club, but rarely do we get calls. People just go on social media.
Yeah. I had to call the club. I talked to Daryl.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even when it was like 2007 when it kind of things died off for a little bit. Was because of social media and the apps on the phones. The college kids would just save their money and going out. People would meet on the apps. Mm-hmm. But then that kind of wore off after a while. People would just say, hey, I still want that interaction to going out to the club. So that was one of the reasons we had a rough patch there for a while, because people were just on their phone all the time. Mm. Even the video games that sat on the bar, they all went bankrupt because once people had their phone, they would just do stuff on their phone. They weren't playing the trivia games on the bar. And I know you probably noticed you don't see them rarely anymore.
Yeah. So how you kind of talked a little about how's the inside changed a little bit? Because there's 3 levels. How has that changed since opening to now?
Well, the upstairs, like I said, where the dressing room is, and that the bars around a circular bar. It was all walled in. There was a big kitchen, not big, but pretty good sized kitchen. And so once we got our liquor license, we took all the kitchen stuff out and opened the upstairs up, and then made the dressing room smaller. And we put the railing on the front about 5 years ago, and we just had the front repainted. I used to have an artist. She'd come in and in 3 days she'd just revamp the club, like paint. She was very, very talented. And so we've always kept it updated and fresh, or tried to. We just built a new bar downstairs, and it's always a process in the old building.
Was the stripper pole there when you moved in?
It's just a structural pole.
Oh. And
so we built the risers around it for people to watch the shows, and it's pretty infamous, that pole.
Oh yeah.
We used to have to grease it down because people would be climbing up and drunk and fall off of it, but we don't have that much anymore. People still climb it, but they more dance around it.
Yeah. Were there any big events or kind of, I don't know, historic things that happened that are significant to you in the history of the club?
There's a lot, but I remember when Pulse happened, Shannon and I went to we were going to do a benefit for them. And every restaurant we went to gave us a gift card. I mean, and each place would buy us a drink, so we could say, we got to go home. So we had $1,850 in gift cards from all the restaurants. Everybody was really good about donating. And so we did a benefit on a Sunday, and I think we raised like $11,000 for Pulse. And we raffled off the tickets, and then the drag queens all did give all their money. So yeah, I think it was about $11,000 we raised for Pulse. That was pretty cool.
So you would say the club kind of experiences like the atmosphere and all events that affect the LGBT community, like also kind of affect the atmosphere and emotion of UC.
Definitely.
Yeah. Would you say that now, because everything is more accepting, that you get more business? And would you say like the sexual orientation, is it more straight people or more queer people? And like, how has that changed?
We've always had everybody come there. I mean, like doctors, lawyers, Paige Beck used to come there because she always had new people that worked for TV20, and they would come to the club. So Lady Pearl even got her on stage once and embarrassed her. and Paige actually, during the Pulse benefit, she gave us a really cool gator necklace to auction off. I went to TV20 and picked it up. So it's probably 70-30 mix, more gay, but everybody, like I say, everybody comes there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a safe place for everyone. How would you say, like, downtown, the bars differ than, like, midtown? How does that kind of compare for UC? Like, do you think the location is better downtown, or do you think being closer to...
I do now, because there's more stuff downtown. Before, when it was midtown, you had the swamp, and it was kind of... They had their nights down here, and then we had Thursdays downtown. Midtown was like Wednesday. I think Wednesday used to be the big night at the swamp and the Porpoise. But now that there's more stuff downtown and more restaurants, I think, and more housing downtown, there's more people downtown.
And people, it's not just a nightclub, correct? Like, people come in during the day. Like, what times do you open? And
we open for happy hour Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 5:00. And then Saturday, we're not open until 9. We don't open for happy hour. And then Monday and Tuesday, we open at like 7. So sometimes we only open one floor, like the upstairs or the downstairs, depending on how busy it is. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday we open all the floors.
Okay.
Yeah, when we first opened, there was a lot of hunts. What are those hunts called? Were they scavenger hunts?
Oh.
And all the college kids would come, they'd be scared because they had to get our matches or this or that. So those matches, they always were coming in. I have to get a pack of matches. They were so nervous. We said, just have a drink. And then they'd have a drink. Oh, this place is pretty cool. So, yeah.